Little Richard, it's now 16 years since you had your first hits.
Oh, yes.
Do you realise that, well, you must realise that at your performances, now there are people who weren't even alive when you first began.
Yes, but I have woke them up now. Everybody that wasn't alive when I started and was gone, I have brought the spirit and put it on them.
Well, you're always so shy.
No, I'm not. A lot of people say I'm shy, but I let it all hang out. Every bit, the love, the gentleness, the tenderness, the kindness. You ain't supposed to hide nothing. You got it. God gave it. Show it to the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, a man who's become a legend in his own time, Little Richard.
Voice? Oh my God, who is that? Who is that?
I've never seen any of it before. It's like taking your clothes off. If there's a piano, get on it. Use everything.
He spit on every rule there was in music.
He created the template for the rock and roll icon.
Sorry, y'all. It wasn't Elvis.
He was like a meteor arriving.
A comet.
Quasar. His DNA is everywhere. It's like, how do you refer to the air? How do you refer to the sky?
I'm the emancipator. I'm the architect. I'm the one that started it all. Let it all hang out with the beautiful Little Richard from down in Macon, Georgia. I want you all to know that I am the Bronze Liberace. Shut up!
Typically, we speak of legacy in the laudatory. The legacy of Little Richard is complex.
Please, I'd rather do it myself.
Watching his interviews over the decades, you can see the various different versions.
I'm not conceited. I'm convinced.
You could see him crafting his legacy, presenting his story over and over again in different ways.
I was gay all my life. I believe I was one of the first gay people to come out. But God let me know that he made Adam be with Eve, not Steve.
What was his life that he experienced such delight?
He's coming.
And such terror at the same time.
You know, I would get up off an orgy and go and pick up my Bible.
It's almost like having a split personality.
He's too much. He's too much for everyone.
People wanted to be a thing. Richard really didn't have a thing.
As the progeny, we must understand what kind of spirit he was and how this thing tore him asunder sometimes.
He opened up a way. The opening that says something like, we can get to this place, but I may not get there with you.
I'm from a little country town.
Macon, Georgia. Everybody was wondering what was I, who was I, and where was I going, but I knew all the time. I wanted to be a star. When I was a little boy, it wasn't in the rock and roll. Save my soul. You know, everybody, you know, that was that old thing. And I thought that was the best thing I ever heard in my life. My mother would be in the backyard washing her clothes on what you call a rub board. There was a lot of blues. Walking down the streets, you would see black singers playing the guitar.
Tell her hurry home. He ain't had no liver since she been gone. Got to step it up and go. Yeah.
My mother had 12 children. We had to sleep on pallets on the floor, and my mother had to cook beans every day. We couldn't get enough, you know, because it's 12 kids, you know, a big old pot of rice and collard greens. My mother was she was so sweet to me. My granddad had an old piano, but I couldn't play. I was just hitting every key, and everybody be about to say, oh!
He was always bamming on the piano anytime you see him.
No.
We would always sneak down there and be looking in the kitchen and wonder.
Everybody wanted to help me to play, but I just didn't know how to memorize those keys.
I used to hang out with his brothers, the younger ones, and sisters. His daddy, Charles Bud Penniman, was very strict on him, very strict. He was a minister who owned a small nightclub and had a bootleg house at the same time.
He sold stuffed whiskey. And you know, the white people called it Black Thunder. The black people called it White Lightning. That's right. You know, that's the way we had our food and paid the rent.
He didn't want Richard shouting out loud some of the gospel stuff. He wanted him to sing soft.
I wanted to be a minister when I was a little boy.
Macon is known for its churches. It's the conservative religious town. Sundays, his mother would get him up and he'd attend the Baptist church with her at New Hope.
If you sit in the Baptist church, you don't move at all.
And then it would be time for him to go to the AME church with his father.
You sit in the Holy Roller, they don't sit down at
all. All the children would go to this church. I would get there and I would sing. But they wouldn't let me sing that much because I wouldn't stop. And then people started hearing little turns and things in my voice and started requesting me. People used to come to me when I was a little boy for me to pray for them. And my mother used to say that you're crazy.
I will say this 100,000 times. The South is the home of all things queer, of the different, of the non-normative, of the other side, of the gothic, of the grotesque. Note that queerness is not just about sexuality, but about a presence in a space that is different from what we require or expect, different from the norm.
And you know, back in that day, you have Sunday clothes. And so I would take my mother's Sunday pins, her little brooches and things, and put them on my Monday jacket and my Tuesday shirt. I wore my mother's curtains, the sheets, put on some makeup on my face. My dad liked to kill me.
They called him a sissy, a punk, a faggot.
When he came to town, whites were exposed to him. It was kind of a shock.
My dad didn't like my actions and my ways. I was born deformed from a child. One of my legs was long, one of them was small.
Really?
And this is my long arm and this is my short arm. It was just, I never could do nothing good. He told me to get out of the house, that he didn't want me there no more, that he hated me. And he says that I wanted 7 boys and you're messing it up. Because I was gay, he put me out.
I can only imagine. I've lived through my versions of that. It's debilitating. It's soul-crushing, and it can be deadly.
Anne and her husband actually took Richard in. Let him stay upstairs.
A white club in my hometown called Ann's TikTok.
You know what we would think of as, quote, a gay club. It was kind of like the speakeasy. You had to know where to go and how to get in.
I used to play there, and I was singing blues and I was singing gospel.
All in my room, music everywhere.
My favorite singer was Sister Rosetta Tharpe. This black woman could play.
The mother of rock and roll.
There is no other mother. Sister Rosetta Tharpe shifted a lot of what we thought was possible for black sound outside of the church. That the purpose is to drum on the piano or on the guitar until you get to the mountaintop, until you reach the ecstatic space. When the spirit comes,
sing in the morning, sing in the evening, sing in the middle of the day.
That is the rockin' and the roll.
Jesus is hard.
One night, Sister Rosetta Tharpe came through.
The Macon City Auditorium is a venue that many people played in the height of their careers. Richard worked there as a teenager.
I went backstage, and I was singing with Sister Rosetta Tharpe a song called Strange Things Happening Every Day. And Sister Tharpe said, I have a little boy, and he said he could beat me singing. And she brought me out there. My mother said, go on, boy. That's the first time I ever was on stage. And I was out there just screaming and singing. That was the greatest thing ever happened to me. And so I had to get out of Macon because I was ready to shine. I went with Dr. Hudson Medicine Show. He was selling snake oil. I would play the piano and sing.
Caledonia! Caledonia! One thing you'll be getting too hard.
I sung the Louis Jordan Caledonia every night because I didn't know no other song. And I went from there to Belglades, Florida with B. Brown and his orchestra. And he changed my name to Little Richard. And then I went with Sugarfoot Sam from Alabama.
There is this touring circuit in place. We call it very often the Chitlin Circuit, where you have various queer black women traveling with gold-plated teeth, singing dirty blues or gut bucket blues.
I got nipples on my titties, big as the end of my thumb. I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man.
Her stuff can make a listener blush today. So we should not be surprised that Little Richard as Princess Lavone is possible and happens at that point in time.
I mean, this is something that is a fact, but it's often not remembered. At that time, there would be drag acts. And Little Richard not only sang and performed in these shows, he also performed in drag.
Sugarfoot Sam from Alabama. They had me dressed all kind of ways.
He had a stage persona called Princess Lavone. Is it Lavone or is it, I don't know, I've never heard it said out loud.
Princess Lavone.
And so he would put on makeup, wear a dress, and he would perform as a woman.
Homosexuality is illegal. Cross-dressing is illegal.
It was seen as acceptable only because of the context.
You know, this is happening late at night. People are drinking, and it allows for the lines of reality to become soft and for people to imagine and to conjure.
So this traveling world was crucial, particularly for any gender non-conforming, queer performer who maybe didn't really feel welcome in their home or home community.
I was working in Atlanta, Georgia at the Royal Peacock, and I met a singer named Billy Wright. He wore green suits and green and gold shoes. I'd never seen a man dressed like that.
Yes, I remember all the things that we used to do.
I idolized him. It wasn't his voice that got me. I liked the way he looked.
Billy Wright. He had the high pompadour,
The pancake makeup.
the mascara, and the little pencil mustache. He was also openly gay.
I had already started wearing the hair, but when I saw him, I started sweeping it back on the side.
And then Billy helped Richard get his first record deal.
They recorded me in the lobby of the radio station. There wasn't no studio.
Taxi, taxi, take me anywhere.
He was popular in Macon and in Atlanta.
Richard becomes more famous in Macon, and his father starts playing these songs around the clock at the club. Richard said for the first time in his life his father was proud of him. And Bud Penniman actually welcomes Richard back into the family home.
One night I was sitting there all night and watch people get off the bus, you understand. And he got off. I said, oh, boy. He said, I play piano. I said, I sing. So we got together.
He had a flamboyant, wild child style. He would stand up while playing piano.
Escarita, who is also queer, taught him how to play piano.
He's a hard guy to get along with, but he taught me how to play. Thank you, Escarita, wherever you are.
I think when people talk about Billy Wright or Escarita's influence, they're like, oh, well, Little Richard just stole his whole swag. I think that's not exactly what's happening. It is another case of witness. They are kind of like the mirrors that come into your life to show you who you really are.
Sounds so sad. Ain't that sad? Ooh, make her cry. That was my daddy's favorite song. It was called Chain of Love.
Richard told his father he could help take care of the family financially, but he didn't have a way to get around.
So he told me he was gonna help me get a car, but he died that Friday night. When I came from the club, he was dead.
Richard's best friend shot him. In order to help support his family, he's a dishwasher at a Greyhound bus station.
I was making $15 a week. And couldn't eat in the restaurant while I was fixing the stuff.
They wouldn't let you eat?
No, you couldn't eat there. You couldn't go to the bathroom either. I loved my mother so much, and I was determined to be something, to make something out of myself, to help her.
He's still working the touring circuits. And he's part of groups that are touring all over the South.
I was playing up in Nashville, Tennessee. Rich was playing next door to us, and there were about 250 people, and we had 4 people. Rich said, I like the way you play drum. He said, I'm thinking about getting a band together and call it the Upsetter. I said, Richard, let me tell you one thing. I got holes in my shoes. I'm about 2 weeks behind hotel rent. We ain't had a decent meal in weeks. He said, oh, that's okay, honey. I'll take care of it. That was like magic to me. He got my drum out the pawn shop, fed us and brought us back to Macon, Georgia. The first $5 I made with Little Richard, we made $15 a night. We guarantee us 4 nights a week.
I was in Augusta, Georgia, and Richard came over with all this makeup and his loud suit. I'd never seen anybody like Richard.
He had run into Lloyd Price, big hit record with Lordy Miss Claudie.
And I had this white and red Cadillac. He said, I want a car just like that. I want to get out of Georgia. You got to help me.
And he says, make a demo and send it to Art Roop at Specialty Records.
Of course, the rest of it is history.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Mr. Art Roop, you are now finna hear Little Richard and his Upsetters. Baby, don't you wish your man had long hair like mine? Yeah.
Art Roop and his A&R man, Bumps Blackwell, listened to Little Richard's demo, didn't think much of him. But Richard was constantly pestering the secretaries, and the persistence paid off. Roop said, okay, meet him down in New Orleans. He's playing down there. Do a session at Cosimo's with him.
The back of a furniture store on Rampart Street. That's where we were recording.
Very small place. They look like a hot dog stand.
When you first saw and heard Little Richard, what your impressions were?
Wow. I was beautiful. I never used to being around no young, good-looking guy like me. I'm not conceited either.
Little Richard came in, flitty, running, and he was very beautiful.
When I went in, they wanted me to sound like Ray Charles and B.B. King.
I'm all alone, alone in this world. I'm all alone.
They won't let me sing like Little Richard. They had me imitating these people, but blues was not what I really felt. I wanted to sound different. Me and the young kids, we was tired of all that slow music.
I just stopped the session because we just were not getting anywhere.
So they take a lunch break. They go over to the Dewdrop Inn.
All of the boosters, rounders, pimps, whores was hanging around, and there was a piano. And that was when I began to know and understand Richard.
They didn't know that I play piano. So I started singing Tutti Frutti loud as can.
Bop, bop, a little bop, a good hot damn Tutti Frutti, good booty, a Tutti Frutti, good booty, a Tutti Frutti, good booty, a Tutti Frutti, good booty. If it don't fit, don't cross it. You can squeeze it and make it easy.
But the lyrics to Tutti Frutti are about anal sex. That's what they're about. They're about penetration.
Bumps' ears prick up, and he says, that sounds like it could be a hit. That the lyrics were too lewd to ever get airplay on the radio. So he spots Dorothy across the room. Dorothy says, you think you could clean up this lyric?
Pretty nasty lyric?
Yes, nasty. Nasty, nasty.
Dorothy said it was dirty. They were that dirty. Dorothy, they was not that dirty. They were just as clean as you were.
They say I needed her, so I accepted the fact that I did, because I didn't know the record business.
So they go back for the session in the afternoon.
Put Richard on the piano.
I knew right off the bat it was different. When he said, wop, bop, baloo, bop, bam, I said, what the hell is that?
And they did a couple of takes, and he sends it back to Roop, and Roop said, yeah, this is different, man.
Wasn't nothing not like it, and I was scared because didn't nobody sound like that. I said, man, they gonna laugh at me.
Put it out, and it, boom.
Wop, bop, bam, 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 tutti frutti, oh, Rudy, tutti frutti, oh, Rudy, tutti frutti, oh, Rudy, tutti frutti, oh, Rudy, tutti frutti, oh, Rudy. Wop, bop, bam, 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 got a gal.
One night I was sitting at the house in Macon, Georgia, my mom and them at WLAC from Nashville, Tennessee, Gene Noble. He said, we got a new record by a guy called Little Richard, and it's taking this country by storm. He said, it's the most requested record we ever had. I said, Ma, that's me. They didn't know I was Little Richard. I said, that's me, Ma. I said, I'm a star. She said, shut your mouth, boy. I said, Ma, I'm a star. This black music was so intense. It was so full of power and rhythm. It was so full of that fervency. It had it going on.
It's sort of like the Big Bang.
A shot out of a cannon. So explosive, it's so ferocious. It just sounds like nothing else.
Little Richard's music was so infectious, infused with so much joy.
All of this post-war, aching, yearning, teenage horniness and desire to be erotically free, put it into a musical form that people could feel.
When I came out with Tutti Frutti, it was considered race music, only played on black stations. Black records is played for black people only.
There is music, and then there's black music. When black people make music, it's pejoratively characterized and classified as race music.
Black records wasn't getting played on white stations even at that period.
Yeah, but you know what? The kids found it.
We're going to hit you with one of the top vocal groups in the nation.
Part of that change has to do with the rise of independent DJs, of transistor radios, which are in cars. And so you have white kids driving in cars with new transistor radios, listening to DJs who are playing black music, which had previously been a kind of underground music, especially R&B.
This is Alan Freed, kids, rolling right along. And we're really rocking and rolling tonight.
People like Alan Freed would go on to popularize, he didn't invent, but popularize the term rock and roll.
All white kids in Baltimore grew up listening to the three black stations, WEBB, WSID, and WWIN. Even racists listened and loved all black music in teenage Baltimore.
We haven't always had teenagers, strange as it sounds.
The concept of the teenager really didn't exist per se in the way that we know it now.
This music is teens. There's a freedom being a teenager. You should experiment. You should be different. And then you're supposed to grow up and get back into the normative box. But Little Richard is the icon for that next generation of teens who's like, oh, we're not getting in the box.
By now, record labels are looking to sign artists who can speak to this underground black music that is becoming popular with white kids.
They didn't want that black image over their kids. They didn't want the white kids looking up at this big old greasy black guy singing and screaming and beaming and scheming. They said, no, no, no. And so what they did was they said, we're going to put the white butts on it.
She almost drive me crazy.
When the Elvis couldn't stop me, they put Pat Boone on me.
Got a gal, her name's Sue. Knows just what to do. I got a gal, her name's Sue.
Wop, bop, boom, bop, lam, bam, boom.
It's hard to keep a straight face when I talk about the Pat Boone covers.
I mean, it's no contest there, no matter what race you are.
This was a common practice, and it says something profound about American culture that I think is still true. That black music is the wellspring of American popular music, but at the same time, these are industries and societies that very often do not value black creators or want the blackness toned down.
I was very disgusted because I was just coming on the scene and all the white girls were screaming over me, and the system didn't like it. I was not supposed to be the hero for their kids.
And here to sing it in person is the man who made it a hit.
Did you know that Elvis Presley and Pat Boone sold more of Tutti Frutti than I did?
Don't forget, Bumps and Richard were going to sell a million or 1.5 million records if Pat Boone recorded that song, for which they would be paid as songwriters.
I was getting a ½ cent a record, which was very low.
There were lots of shenanigans at that time with royalty payments.
I didn't even understand the contract. All I wanted to see was Little Richard. When I saw that, I said, I got a contract. I didn't even read the other part. That's my house right there on the left where I used to live. That's the first house I ever bought right there. Specialty Records gave me in advance. I moved my mother and my brothers and sisters to Riverside, California. It was just beautiful to have an opportunity to live in a home like this. It was a joy to give them something that I never had before.
That's where I met Richard. He looked at me and he said, ooh, we're gonna terrorize. I look like a girl. And he was just so out there, I couldn't explain Richard. He came to my show. I came out in a big cape, and I would drop the cape to the floor. I was shaped a certain way, and they had never seen that before. He said, boy, how do you turn out like that? Me and you would have kicked it a long time ago. I went to his house and I met his mother, and that delighted me. She was such a beautiful person. She knew who he was and what he was, and she loved him in spite of it.
Richard was back in New Orleans for a recording session, and he insisted upon using his road band instead of these creme de la creme musicians in New Orleans.
Well, long tall Sally, she's beautiful species guy. Everything that Uncle John need, oh baby.
Oh, Uncle John, long tall Sally, oh, Mary coming and he went down the alley.
Oh, baby, yeah.
We upped the tempo, and we got the words going so fast that Pat Boone couldn't get his mouth together to do it.
He couldn't get that rhythm right. So
nobody could do it.
Nobody.
Long Tall Sally became an even bigger hit, and it actually became a gold record. Sold 1 million copies.
Well, long Uncle John with bald head Sally, he saw Aunt Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley, oh baby. Yes, baby.
Little Richard has an incredible string of hits.
Tutti Frutti, Good Golly Miss Molly, Long Tall Sally, Slipping on the Side of Loop, Jenny, Rip It Up, Ready Teddy.
The first songs that you love that your parents hate is the beginning of the soundtrack of your life. And in my case, it was most definitely Lucille. Little Richard gave me the fuel to rebel really, really early. I definitely stole some Little Richard records. I can't remember which, because I stole lots of records.
Just on the level of piano alone, Little Richard is doing something that's really innovative and really fascinating. He's doing boogie woogie on the left hand, dun, 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 right? On his right hand, he was influenced by hearing the piano playing of Ike Turner. Ike Turner played on one of the most defining tracks of early rock and roll music, Jackie Brenston's Rocket 88. Ike Turner's right hand, it's really percussive. Little Richard was really inspired and said, I want to do that. But he's doing it in this like raucous tempo. The percussion actually had to try to keep up with his right hand.
First time I was making George, so we went to the train station with Richard, and he said the train pull off. He said, Joe, that's the kind of beat I want you to play behind me. No drummers were playing that kind of beat before.
Of course, on top of all of this is Little Richard's incredible voice, right? That sort of preacher, gravelly, hardcore sound.
You can talk about me.
You can hear Brother Joe May, who Little Richard was deeply influenced by.
You can hear Clara Ward, as well as Marianne Williams. But he isn't only the amalgam of these different references. He isn't just a collection of things. There is something that he does that makes this gumbo musical experience as uniquely his own.
I remember when I played my first date, they had me on this tour called the Top 10 Show. Ruth Bryan, Fats Domino, Laverne Baker. But I was at the bottom of the sound, added attraction. And when the tour was over, I was the one headlining.
Nobody could follow him, so he had to close the shows everywhere he played.
Everybody was afraid of me. I was unpredictable. They didn't know what I was going to do. I would go up in the balcony of the auditorium and I would hide. And when they would say, Little Richard, and I would jump out the back and the promoter would go, oh! And everybody would be hollering and screaming.
Ready, set, go, man, go! I got a gal that I love so much.
Man, playing with Little Richard heaven on earth. He was so hot. We played something like 5 nights a week, 2 or 3 shows a day.
Remember, in the 1950s, there's legal segregation. Black kids are not able to listen to music in the same spaces as white kids.
Black and white musicians weren't allowed to play together.
They had one night for white and the next night for African American. But the white kids would come to the black kids concert too, as spectators.
The white people started leaping over the balcony and they got down with the blacks. My music broke down the walls of segregation.
There's something about this music that made black and white kids want to be together.
There are artists before Little Richard who are able to cross over. Fats Domino, somebody who's also very much responsible for the early rock and roll, who was not threatening to a lot of young white kids. But Little Richard was danger. Little Richard is somebody who represented a complete upheaval of the existing social system. He was singing about sex, and he was singing about graphic sex. At a time, you weren't allowed to talk about graphic sex in the way that we are today in popular music, and so you had to code it.
I mean, good golly, Miss Molly, you sure like the ball. I mean, I don't know what anybody else thinks it means, but I knew what it meant. He could project sex without being threatening.
All my band boys had a makeup kit.
Pancake makeup. He said you didn't have to wear your hair all curl if you didn't want to. The option. I did it. We sit in the beauty shop. I'll be with my leg crossed, but I got a cigar on my mouth. Little Rich. We wasn't gay now. Richie was on gay.
Everybody was looking beautiful. Everybody was glamorous and looked good.
The early 20th century word was chic. If you were chic, you had like really good hair, good skin, good makeup, you know, eyelashes, whatever. Like, the girls went crazy for that, right? He had panties thrown at him while he was performing.
All due respect, Tom Jones, he started that in the 60s or 70s. The girls were throwing panties at us in the 50s.
Here you came on black.
Yes.
And gay.
Yes.
And talented.
Yes.
And loud. But the one thing they wrote about you when you came on, you were
Yes.
absolutely 100% sure of yourself.
That's right.
Where did your confidence come from?
Well, see, it wasn't just a gay thing. What it was is to be black and to work for white girls, I had to look that way. If I didn't wear makeup and look feminine, I couldn't work the white clubs. They wouldn't let me with the white girls.
That's right. You weren't a threat.
And yes, I wore it all. From wah-wah to woo-woo. I had it all on, even sometimes boo-boo. It's an old Richard. Ain't nothing to him. Ain't a thing to him. And when James Brown come, they say, you better watch that boy. You know.
Intuitively, it doesn't really quite make sense that the way that you would like make yourself more safe in America of that era is by exaggerating your queerness, right?
I said, Richard, aren't you afraid of people thinking that you're different? And he said, no, I don't give a damn what they think.
I know the evil feeling that you feel when you sing it. I mean, the beat.
That two-beat pattern is the music brought to the United States of America by the communist conspiracy to corrupt teenagers.
The means by which the white man and his children can be driven to the level with a nigger. It is obviously nigger music.
That boy gonna come to town singing that black music and gonna run our children crazy.
They ran us out of town a couple of places.
I'd be afraid for a white girl to look at me.
This is a radical time.
This is the same moment as Emmett Till.
Bunch of white guys will follow you and hang you in a tree.
So what's revolutionary about this black exuberance is this capacity to own the right to be in the world that gets Emmett Till murdered.
I remember doing shows where people would throw things at us on stage. You were driving a lot at night from one town to the next, and you wanted to stop for gas, but you were not welcome. Being run out of restaurants at gunpoint because you walked in the wrong door.
You could get thrown in jail for having long hair. It happened to Little Richard in Texas.
Richard was arrested many times.
I had the police to take me off stage in Augusta, Georgia, a few miles from my hometown, and beat me with blackjacks. They said, you're singing nigger music to white kids.
In the face of insurmountable challenges, sometimes simply existing is a revolutionary act.
We built a hell of a highway, and people are still driving on it. That's right. And they ain't paying no toll, no.
This is before the height of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. They are concerned that the old order of the day, the relationships between black and white teenagers, is going to become something that they can no longer contain.
She walks by, the men folks getting rolled.
I used to go see all the rock and roll movies. The Girl Can't Help It was the very first time I actually saw him live singing.
Ready, set, go, man, go. I got a gal that I love, so I'm ready. Ready, set, I'm ready.
It made the music even 1,000 times better than it already was for me. He was gay, but I didn't really know that then. I knew something was different. He just became part of my identity. And Little Richard's mustache I wear to this day for over 50 years in a twisted tribute to him. And so the girl can't help it spread the word of rock and roll to places that it hadn't quite gotten to yet.
The film came to Britain, and it was so different from anything that I'd heard or seen. He was giving me more confidence that that's what I wanted to do. Because of the rock and roll films, Little Richard became one of the main characters in rock and roll. You know, there was Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and then, of course, Little Richard. You know, it's like the big five. But Richard was the strongest.
Was there a lot of sex going on?
Oh, yes. Oh, we night and day, all night.
I slept with over 1,400 women.
I had all these orgies going on. Everybody liked to jack up, masturbate. Everybody loves to. Everybody liked to go to orgies. Everybody. Some people wish they never had to leave. You know, I don't know why everybody said, oh. I just loved whatever came. You know, I didn't refuse nothing. If you knocked on my door and I wanted more, for sure. Oh, she is a whooper. They should just keep Lee and take Angel off.
Richard's fantasies are the greatest on earth. I believe that if he'd have been a screenwriter, he would have at least 9,988 films that would be extreme hits now.
He said, I want you to meet Lee Angel. I said, do you really like her, Richard? He said, yeah, she got some good stuff.
She's a wonderful girl. You know, she's beautiful. She's loving, she's kind. But Angel is a girl, she just enjoys sex, and everybody does.
I said, oh, when you started screwing women?
Well, he slept with me. And I guarantee I'm all woman.
How old were you when you met Richard?
16. I'm walking down West Broad Street in Savannah, and someone came over to me and told me, Little Richard wants to meet you. My response was, does he know I'm a girl? He always introduced me from the stage. Just as I was his lady, and I would have to stand up. He asked me to marry him. I couldn't do it. 17, first time I was on my own.
He knew that he had something inside of him that was hard to bring out. If it's not going to come out now, it'll come out eventually.
I had been a flash of lightning for 2 years. In fact, you could just call me the living flame. I was at the height to make the big money. They had me on this tour, going to Sydney, Australia. The engines of the plane had turned red, really red. To me, I thought the plane was on fire.
He feels and sees that angels are holding the plane up. He's overcome by this vision, and he's overcome by fear.
Then, after arriving in Sydney, I was appearing there in a stadium. And this ball of fire came over the stadium. I've always heard from a little boy that the world was going to end, and it was frightening, you know. I just felt that God was speaking to me.
Later, they say this is Sputnik, but it doesn't matter. Little Richard said he saw a fireball after angels were holding up the plane, period. He's like, I gotta cut this tour short. I need to get out of here.
I said, after these dates, I'm going to stop singing. I'm going with the Lord. One of the band boys said, if you're serious, throw your rings in the water. We got on the ferry, and I threw them in the ocean.
We knew he was a rock and roll star. Why would he be coming to Oakwood? Word spread, he's not coming to give a concert. He's coming as a student.
Oakwood was the premier black Seventh-day Adventist school. Very conservative. I was a little boy. My mother was a teacher. I was old enough to know who he was, but we didn't have rock and roll on campus. It was a sin to listen to Richard's music.
Shortly after he got there, he gave his testimony. He said he saw himself in hell. He said he knew he wasn't ready to see the Lord with what he was singing and how he was behaving. He called it devil music.
The Lord is coming soon, and I want to dedicate my life to God. And I want to study so I can help the other people that are doing wrong where they can be saved too.
He actually said if you have any of his records, he would buy them back. And he was going to have a bonfire. He burned the records, cut his hair. We just accepted him as a normal student. Little Richard lived in the dorm. He always had on a suit jacket, and he had a big Bible that he carried with him. And if you saw him coming, you knew you might get stopped to be prayed with. I liked him. He had a real burden for the salvation of souls. And he liked to tell his story. As I have repent, you must repent.
This is kind of the beginning of his period with gospel music.
Precious Lord, take my hand.
His vocal performance is so dramatically different. I want to say restrained.
I'm like, you ain't even bring the rock and roll to the gospel like Sister Rosetta Tharpe was doing. Maybe that was him trying to be still.
He said that the Bible would be his only love. He was a caring, loving person, and I was very proud of that.
Even in this sphere of sacred music, he names an album the king of gospel singers, staking his claim for where his voice fits in the pantheon of gospel singers.
Richard met Ernestine, and they got to be close as friends, and she wanted to marry him, and he married her.
We were married at Richard's home in Los Angeles. It was a very quiet, private service. I didn't know anything about Richard before I met him. I sneaked away and listened to some of his songs. Richard was the kind of husband that most women would want for a husband. Always positive, loving, and caring.
I think little Richard wanted to do God's will, but he lived a high lifestyle. He had a nice home that he bought for his mother and his family, and church wasn't paying him. He wasn't an ordained minister. He needed money.
I was in a band called Sounds Incorporation. We're told that we're going on the road and we're backing Little Richard. We're all saying, this is beyond belief. We all figured that he'd retired and we wouldn't hear of him again. All I can assume is Don Arden told Richard it was a gospel tour. There's a rehearsal called. He had a sweater on him. I didn't recognize him. So, we're not quite sure what to expect the first night. So the band's riffing. You know, now for America, ladies and gentlemen, we have Little Richard. And he's not on stage. He's not there. From the balcony, we hear, I am an Adam, Mom. Eyes wide open and a cape. and he jumps off the balcony, ran up to the stage, and... I was rocketed into the fifth dimension. I wasn't of this earth anymore. All of a sudden, Richard jumps off the piano, lay on the floor, as if he was dead. Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Richard wake up all of a sudden and play Good Golly Miss Molly. Nearly every night, it escalated into a full-blown riot in the theatre. People have wrecked the seats. The police dogs are called. I remember coming off of that and thinking, now this is rock and roll.
Brian Epstein brought me to Liverpool. And when I walked in, he said, Richard, I got 4 guys. Would you mind taking a picture with my group? And they was nervous. He said they never met no one famous before.
On the last day of school, we used to bring our guitars in, and I used to stand on a desk and do Little Richard.
It's hard for people to imagine how thrilled the 4 of us were. We were just almost paralyzed with adoration.
They had never made a record. Didn't nobody know them but their mothers. I took them with me to Hamburg, Germany, to the Star Club.
That place was magical. Wildness, debauchery, if you wanted it. Richard just absolutely maxed out. Leather pants, the male stripper gear he had.
Little Richard's organist was Billy Preston.
One night, George said, well, come on out here and play the organ with us, you know. I said, no, because Little Richard will get mad, you know, because he's the star.
Hamburg, that was the real time we got to know Little Richard. And we used to say, is it true you threw all your rings off the bridge? Well, of course it's true, child. You know, we'd just sit there for hours like kind of disciples in the dressing room.
I'd see Paul on the side of the stage more than the rest of the band.
All my screamy numbers were to do with him.
Paul was the one that wanted to do the hollers. I said, woo! He would say, woo, 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 woo. The next thing you know, woo!
It was one of our first tours, and we were opening for Little Richard. We were basically a cover band, you know, we hadn't written much. I would be by the side of the stage like every night to watch him. English bands, they were very static. Watching Richard say, I don't have to stand there. Use the whole stage. Richard would work that audience, get them up out of their seats, swaying, shouting, waving their arms. Calling, responding stuff. 30 dates, so I saw Little Richard 30 times. You know what I mean? Later on, I realized he was like doing church in a theatre in Northern England, basically.
I'd like to finish off with Little Richard's Long Tall Sally.
Suddenly you have black artists who are displaced from the charts. The innovations that they have brought have been stylized and adopted by others who generate way more success than they are able to. in America. Little Richard is nowhere near where he was in the mid-1950s.
This happens to a lot of black artists. Going back to teenagers as fickle consumers, we want fresh deliverers of the innovation.
Hey, Richard, welcome. You and Chuck have kind of taken England by storm. How do you feel about other people borrowing your material?
Well, Dick, I must be truthful. I'm very grateful to know that my material is the type of material that the entertainers today would like to use.
He had a good body of work. He had graduated to the level of show business where you don't need a hit record to continue to work.
He and Ernestina divorced, and he was back to his old lifestyle. He called up Bumps and says, I want to change my image. I want to come out loud and gaudy as the living flame.
We had a steamer trunk full of these outfits. Tassels and flamboyant, pretty material. And we played with everybody. But no matter where we went, Richard stole the show. One time in Atlantic City, Janis Joplin was killing the audience. She had gotten about 7 standing ovations, and she literally passed out. And I'm standing there saying, man, Richard's in trouble. Richard told me, get back in the limousine, go back to the hotel, and bring me my mirror suit. They cut off all the lights. They put the spotlight on him, and he spun around like a glass ball. And those lights went everywhere. And Janis Joplin, I can still see her face, and she said, oh my God. Richard told all of them.
Let it all hang out with the beautiful Little Richard from down in Macon, Georgia. I want you all to know that I am the king of rock and roll.
Little Richard was the first thing I remember, like as far as rock and roll was concerned.
One time, Elvis came backstage, and Elvis said, well, Richard, don't you ever worry about anything. You will always be the true king of rock and roll.
Why is it, Richard, after 26 years in the business, you're as big, if not bigger than ever? What's the secret of success?
I think it's because I've been really doing it. You know, the Bible says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I've been free. I get beautiful every day. I get. Shut up. Look at the beauty. How you doing? Shut up.
Little Richard popularized the phrase, shut up.
The first time I said that, I was in Las Vegas. They didn't like the way I look. You know, they said, we don't want this man on our stage. You know, I didn't have on no suit and no tie, and all this beauty was just shining forth. Shut up. People accept it from me for some reason. You know, I travel over the world, and I think they can look at me and see that I'm a love child.
You went into the ministry, didn't you?
I don't think you could imagine almost any other rock star being able to get away with shut up.
Anybody looking at Little Richard in the throes of his career could tell you that this man was definitely not straight. He was certainly queer in all of the senses of what that term means.
but he rarely spoke about it openly. And that was where the complication came.
I'll be honest with you, there were times I went and slept in the bathtub because the rest of the suite was full of naked people. He'd be sitting there with the Bible right there beside him. And every now and then he'd quote us. We had prayer every day.
If you have that drummed into you since you're a child, secular music, that's the devil's music. It can't be much fun for the people involved in it, like Richard, like Sister Rosetta thought.
Everybody was into the excess.
It got so hectic during concerts and television and every other thing. One day, I was getting ready to go on the stage, and I was so tired. And a friend of mine introduced me to cocaine.
73 and 74, they were coming to my room asking for money that I couldn't account for. And I knew where it was going. I didn't stick around much after that.
I was just doing everything. PCP, cocaine, heroin.
He just wasn't the person I knew anymore.
One night I was appearing at Magic Mountains and a friend of mine called to come to see me. He was 21 years old. He never did arrive. He had gotten shot. Later on that night, he died. I had another friend of mine that I went to his house to get some cocaine. He fell dead. Another friend of mine, some fellas put in a trunk and cut him up with a butcher knife. My brother Tony said, Richard, I want to borrow some money. And I had an engagement in Miami, Florida. I said, Tony, when I get back, I'll let you have it. When I got back, instead of going with Tony, I met a man. We went to the hotel to have a party. The next morning, somebody pushed a note up under my door, said, your brother's dead. I tell you, you're talking about rock bottom. I've been below the rocks where it wasn't no bottom. God is talking to me through my brother's death and all of my friends that died right on the road. Oh, God. So, Lord, please help me. Please save me.
It's me. It's me, oh Lord. I am standing.
It started me to thinking more seriously about my life than I've ever thought.
Standing in the need of prayer, not my mother.
Open my Bible to Mark 8:36 and 37. Therefore, what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
But it's me, oh Lord, yeah. I am standing in the need of prayer.
And the only rock I got now is the rock, Christ Jesus. Well, I just let it all go.
Oh, that beautiful city where Jesus is waiting.
I said, well, Lord, can I sing rock and roll and do both of them? God says, you got to be all for me, let me go.
When Tony died, it really affected Richard. He didn't want to be one of those who would die and burn in hell. That's the way we were taught.
I'm just so glad that God was able to clean me up and wash me up, and thank you, Lord. I'm not gay now, but, I was gay all my life. I believe I was one of the first gay people to come out. But God let me know that he made Adam be with Eve, not Steve. Oh, God, how can you save me? I'm homosexual. Oh, God, I'm not just a dope addict. I'm unnatural. I like men.
Not only did he take me from dope.
Richard continued his tour, and he's renouncing his queerness even more fervently than before.
He changed me from homosexuality.
There is harm to communities to have somebody speaking on a public stage in that way.
I feel he betrayed gay people by saying he's not. But I do understand. You're not strong enough to take it. I understand that.
Especially a person like Little Richard who had so much to hold.
As I look around, I can see so many people.
When I hear his passionate singing at this time, especially at the MDA Telethon, it's hard to tell how much is running towards God versus running away from himself.
But I realize that I should be grateful, also grateful.
I think of how Little Richard fared as a young person. As a kid who came from a church family, who was black and queer and femme and disabled, who'd been bullied by not only other kids, but also his father.
There's a lot of violence that attends trying to live a queer life.
Here's the one and only Little Richard.
I guess he held himself responsible for the degradation he figured that he brought to the world, and yet what he brought us was freedom.
You ain't supposed to hide nothing you got it. God gave it. Show it to the world. No, I don't want to hide. I love him.
He was very, very good at liberating other people through his example. He was not good at liberating himself.
I thank God for that he gave, that my God gave to me. There is someone worse off than I am. Thank you, Jesus.
This Holy Bible is something that they can treasure and keep throughout the years.
This is a beautiful Bible and a wonderful Bible, and it is yours.
At that time, you were selling Bibles.
That's right, and making $150 a week.
He was doing big church events, and he was doing gospel shows.
I'm through with rock and roll as far as me being a performer.
But it wasn't paying him very well.
I looked around and didn't have any money. No record companies paid me nothing. You know, nobody had paid me a dime.
All those hits. Richard went down there on Hollywood Boulevard and picketed.
Famous Little Richard did that.
Famous Little Richard trying to get that famous money that he made so many years ago that he'd never seen.
Richard really wanted to make money so that he could help take care of his mother and his brothers and sisters.
What were you doing wrong?
I didn't do nothing wrong. They were just crooks. They thought I was a little black fool from Macon, Georgia.
You have to remember that Richard left Specialty Records 18 months into a 3-year contract. Art Roop said, there's a price to be paid. You forego any and all future royalties.
So Richard never received a penny after a time from either his songs or his recordings. It was egregiously unfair.
I saw all my friends on the hill and I was still in the valley. And it bothered me.
30 years after Little Richard breaks, black entertainers were still being marginalized. MTV in 1981, 24 hours of music, and there are no blacks on it.
He didn't even get a Grammy for his actual recordings or his performances.
I'm an innovator. I'm the creator. I'm the king of rock and roll.
When I came along, Elvis wasn't even out. Elvis had never written a song in his life. He was white. I was black.
That struggle was hard because, you know, a lot of times he might have felt that he had to prove himself.
There are many black artists that helped build the building. I'm just the architect. Michael was inspired by me. Prince, James Brown, I discovered him. He was my vocalist. Jimi Hendrix was my guitar player. The Beatles, I love you, Paul. Hello, Linda. And David Bowie says that I was his inspiration.
David Bowie said to me,
I want my new album to sound like this. And it was a picture of Little Richard. He idolized Little Richard. I never worked with an artist that sort of let another artist define what we were going to do. As a black man, I knew that there was only one lane I could really drive down and get commercial success. David could do anything he wanted to do.
Richard's struggle, to me, was always unrealistic. Society was never going to accept him. He was gay, he was black, he either wouldn't accept it or he was afraid to accept it, or he thought that he could overcome it. He asked me to manage him, and I thought, God, it'd be great to be responsible for reviving his career. He didn't do his hits. He would do like a rock and roll version of some of his gospel records.
The life and times of Little Richard.
The quasar of rock.
What does that mean?
The brightest star in the universe.
I don't think it was Richard's idea to do the book. I think he was approached to do the book.
$1,000 a day on coke.
My nose was big enough to park diesel trucks.
Diesel trucks in.
And God got me off of it, and he healed my body, and now I am a man of God with a new book called The Life and Times of Little Richard.
He didn't exactly tell the truth all the time. He states that I did things that I didn't know I did until I read that book.
Oh, close up.
Once he started to feel a buzz, it all came back.
When I first wrote Tutti Frutti, it was Tutti Frutti Good Booty.
Yes.
People want it to be a thing, this night, he's got a thing. But wait a minute, this night, he's got another thing.
If it don't fit, don't force it. Did you understand that one?
Yeah, that's carpentry.
No!
Richard really didn't have a thing. Richard was who he wanted to be, when he wanted to be, how he wanted to be, on what day he wanted to be it.
Well, I haven't been involved in sex in 14 years. It's been 14 years now. That's not my main thing in life, period, anymore. My main thing in life now is to be a messenger. Whether you're homosexual or whatever walk of life a person may be, God loves them.
He existed in contradiction. He could be openly gay in some ways, probably to his circles. This happened for decades.
As a queer person myself, I think that queerness is often misunderstood as an individual identity, right? The truth of one person, right? As if we have a single truth that we can never change.
He was flamboyant at all times, but it was all in Jesus' name. Everything was in Jesus' name. Everything. He was very, very generous. He was really close to all of us in the band. He would say to the crowd, I'd like y'all to meet my son. And that's what I would always call him, my second dad.
He'll break me off $100, break Keith off $100, just give everybody $100 or something, just glad to see us.
He'd send people to school and college and stuff.
Did he pay rent, including mine? Never bragged about it. Richard was the love of my life. And I believe I was the love of his.
He calls us, he calls our moms. I've never met someone that was so real.
Queer communities know this well, this idea of creating your own family.
We all really loved him and cared about him being great.
10 performers who helped give birth to rock and roll now have a permanent home.
It is newly formed Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, the Everly Brothers, Ray Charles, Little Richard, James Brown, Fats Domino.
There was a ceremony, but Richard wasn't there.
He had gotten in a car accident in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was in my sport car. I was real tired. And I just blacked out.
It's believed that he fell asleep at the wheel.
They found a bag with about $30,000 in it. He had flown to London and gotten a record offer. He didn't have a lawyer. He did all this on his own.
He is very lucky to have survived.
I mean, for Richard to have missed the Hall of Fame ceremony, it's the first and only time he's been widely recognized. That must have been heartbreaking.
What's the most important thing in your life today?
Love. That's what I want so much to have. I don't have it exactly the way that I want to. I don't have nobody but me and the great God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That first induction class in 1986 of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had this double-edged sword to where it is recognition, but in a weird way, it can also be dismissal as a relic of the past. Yes, you created it, you invented it, you set the template for it, but, you know, the people who really made it what it is are these younger bands or these white artists.
But I used to wear my hair like that. They take everything I get, they take it from me.
Because of his flamboyance, people made the mistake of not taking him seriously always as a musician, as a human, as a performer.
And the best new artist is me. I have never received nothing. You all never gave me no Grammy.
It's endearing, it's funny, but as a black man, watching that, I heard seething anger that underwrites what he's saying.
Shut up.
You have never given me what is due to me, and since you don't know, I'm gonna tell you.
I can't turn you loose. If I do, I'm gonna lose my mind. I can't ever turn you loose. If I do, I'm gonna lose my yah-yah.
Who's just going to do the induction speech for Otis Redding, who's passed away. But he comes on stage and they're playing I Can't Turn You Loose by Otis.
I'm gonna give you everything you want. Gotta.
And he wants you to know that he knows that he's the root of all of this. That nobody else can sing this song like he can.
Everybody got to know, yeah. God. See, y'all should record me. I don't know why you're not. I'm still here, and I look decent. Woo-woo. Shut up. Make my picture. Ooh, I feel so real. I feel so unnecessary.
On one hand, they might be laughing at him.
And I tell you, when I first heard Otis sing Lucille, I thought it was me.
They also might be laughing because they're uncomfortable. He's speaking truth to power.
Woo!
And he is basically telling them what nobody really wants to say, but everyone should say.
What would it do to the American mythology of rock music to say that its pioneers were black queer people?
One of the greatest singers ever lived, one of the greatest composers ever lived. That's including me. And everybody else, Jimi Hendrix and all of them that's been with me. James Brown, the Beatles, and Mick Jagger, too. He don't ever match, but he was with me, too.
You're waiting for your turn, you know? You're waiting for your... What's he going to say about me?
Mick, you remember that? He said he know he was sleeping on the floor. They didn't have no bed for him. I know he can't forget that because it was hard, wasn't it, Mick?
Everyone was beholden to him, put influence him to start playing rock and roll.
Send me some loving. Send it, I pray.
By the 80s and into the 90s, everything that Little Richard had put in motion was now just the oxygen of American popular music.
When you're so far away.
When I started checking out in college, bands like Living Colour, Bad Brains, Fishbone. I heard like rock and roll is black. That sounded heretical to me, which is terrible. Was just blown away by how much I hadn't been told about the truth of rock and roll.
We're using the wrong word when we talk about appropriation. Think about it as obliteration. When you take and then erase, you remove that entity's capacity to be attached to this thing that they created, to make money from this thing that they created.
Don't you know, baby, I need you so bad.
The infrastructure of the culture does that. It still does it today.
Little Richard cannot be erased and has a loud mouth and has a fire. So if you try to take his shit, he is going to battle you. Not just from a this is my song sort of way, but this is my sound, my rhythm, my being.
I'm waiting on you.
Each year in presenting the prestigious American Music Award of Merit, we tell you about someone who has had an important and ongoing impact on contemporary music.
Hi, this is Keith Richards. We were a bar band, and our first tour, I probably learned more in that 6 weeks than I ever have before or since. Congratulations, Little Richard. Give me a call, man.
Yeah. Richard, you Georgia peach, congratulations. Thank you for helping create rock music, the greatest art form of the 20th century. God bless you, Richard.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the incredible Little Richard.
I'm really glad to get this award. It's been a long time coming, and I've been waiting. And I'm just so grateful that Dick Clark, which is an old friend of mine, he and his wife, seen fit to make this tribute to me while I'm still alive in this world. And I'm just glad that, he saw, and he wants you to see that I am the originator. I am the emancipator. I am the architect of rock and roll. Rhythm and blues had a baby.
And somebody named it rock and roll. Yes. Oh, that was that night all over again. Wow.
Where'd you go? What happened?
I remember sitting back in the back, watching him get that, and when I saw him start to cry, it just like right now, it made me cry. Because, you know, he had mentioned on the ride over, you know, how he always felt like he didn't get what he deserved, and how, you know, he created all this music and nobody gave him anything for it, you know? And, oh, man. Sorry, y'all.
I think more of us should declare what we are.
Especially for people of color, especially for queer people, right? In this culture. Don't shrink.
In a sort of more religious, conservative religious space, you don't declare you are. You don't declare what you did. You give the glory to God. And when Little Richard is talking about being the innovator, and when he's talking about being the originator, he's saying, I am the God of this. And that's one of those spaces where I know that he knows that when he is fully himself, he's closest to God.
Architect of rock and roll, the one, the only, Little Richard.
I am the beautiful Little Richard, and don't you ever forget it. Woo! Little Richard. Woo! Hey, it's Little Richard on ice. Happy Wee!
Any true performer, that thing doesn't ever leave you. And I think he tried to hold on to it as long as he could.
For me, architecture isn't about always answering what will be done, but what could be done. And queerness is the openness to the expansive imagination. Life does not happen in opposites. It happens in shades, in gradations, in spectra.
Rock and roll is not a part of Jesus. Anything that is not of God is not from God.
In his last days, we're calling everybody he knew and saying, get right with God, because the end of the world could be any moment, and you need to be ready.
He was reflecting on his mortality. He was reflecting on, is there a way that I could live something of a joyful afterlife?
The last months of his life, it was important for him to tell people that God is love and that he loved all mankind.
I don't see the end as the only place where the meaning resides.
I would never have taken a chance to go into the clubs in a dress if it wasn't for Little Richard. He gave me peace that I could go and do and be who I wanted to be.
If you could leave just one legacy to the world, would it rather be your music or your preaching and your church work?
I think all that goes together. I don't go to church and sing long, tall, sad, a good darling and smiling. But all of it is music, and I love it.
He paved the way for everything that followed.
He taught me that you could claim things even when you weren't supposed to.
I am the king of rock and roll. Ow, ow, ow. My.
And Little Richard gave the world permission to be who you wanted to be, who you were.
The reason why I'm finally able, as a black queer man, to show up and do anything I want is because of him.
It's almost as if everyone is defined by Little Richard.
I don't want anything from them. All I want them to do is to spread what they got from me. Just carry the good word over the world, that's all.
A wop bop loo bop 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 boom to the fruity, oh Rudy, to the fruity, oh Rudy, ooh to the fruity, oh Rudy, to the fruity, oh Rudy, to the fruity, oh Rudy. A wop bop loo bop 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 boom. I got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. I got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. She rocks at the east, rocks at the west. She's the girl that I love best. To the fruity, oh Rudy. To the fruity, oh Rudy. Ooh, to the fruity, oh Rudy. To the fruity, oh Rudy. To the fruity, oh Rudy. Wop bop loo bop 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 bop. I got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. I got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. Boy, you don't know what she do to me. To the fruity, to the fruity, to the fruity, oh Rudy. Ooh, to the fruity, oh Rudy. To the fruity, oh Rudy. To the fruity, oh Rudy. A wop bop loo bop bop bop. Ow! Bop bop bang boom.